Welcome back, everybody, to Richard White Global. I'm your host, Richard White. And as always, the channel where political correctness goes to die, but the facts live on. Today, folks, the topic of conversation is somewhat controversial and, quite frankly, should not exist. But here we go. Should the TSA be privatized? I did say privatized. I did not say unionized or non-unionized. There's a stark difference. Now listen, I know right away some of you have already made up your mind, and that's fine. But today, this is about discussion, not division. I'm not coming at this blind. I spent over half my life as a dues-paying union member. I've seen the good, and I've seen the bad. So before anyone jumps to conclusions, let's just walk through it together. Why does this matter? This isn't just theory. It's happening right now. TSA workers are considered essential, which means they show up for work whether they get paid or not, folks. We saw this during the 2025 shutdowns, and we're seeing it again right now. Same cycle, same promises, same results. Think about this. You've got full-time federal workers, and some are part-time, to be fair, standing in food lines, relying on charity, working part-time jobs, whatever they can get just to feed their families and pay their bills. But they're still going to work, at least most of them, but that's getting worse each and every week. Just look at the data. We're up to like 30-40% in some airports calling off. Folks, this reminds me of the 1980s, if you remember, the free government cheese lines. I mean, that's not what anybody signed up for. I mean, come on, DC. Where is your concern for their dignity? Here's some hard truths. Let's be honest. Yes, people understand risk, but TSA workers aren't making six figures a year, folks. Currently, of the 50,000 TSA employees there are, they're making an average of mid-40,000s per year. So what about the double TSA worker and family? I mean, I can't imagine. And the ones with children. Folks, they're not building big savings big enough to survive these missed paychecks. And yet, they're still there, protecting travelers every single day, at least for now, including all the legislators who are skipping the TSA lines. Let me say that again. Yes, skipping the TSA lines. They're getting what I call, I guess, the DC Fast Pass to avoid facing the TSA workers and all their constituents that are standing in the 2, 3, 4, 5-hour TSA lines now, to avoid that conflict. Now, there is legislation that started last week that may eliminate that to force their hand and make them stand in line like everybody else, which they should. Folks, Elon Musk last week, whether you like him or not, it's irrelevant. He offered to pay the TSA workers during this defunding and make them whole. So what happened with that? Well, in summary, basically the Democrats all of a sudden decided, hey, let's vote to fund DHS, except who? ICE, which is already funded to 2029. That's just common sense. And CBP, better known as Customs and Border Patrol. So why not them? Why the carve-out? It's pretty simple. The Democrats have to save face with their base. And also, they have to have that perceived mandatory resistance of anything Trump-related. It's just how it works in D.C. And there again, both parties have certain things they've got to resist to save face. Also, if it gets bipartisan legislation and it eliminates their fast pass, well, then they're going to have to face their constituents and the TSA workers that they refuse to pay. So all of a sudden now, hey, let's pay them. I mean, folks, the results are, quite frankly, nothing but frustration and pressure. It's the same cycle over and over and over again. It's nothing but an endless funding fight, political gridlock, and who's feeling it, folks? The workers. Well, and also the people standing in line for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. I mean, people are quitting, quite frankly. You can't blame them. Last shutdown in 25, there was over 1,100 TSA workers resign. Currently, with this one, it's already in the fifth week, already over 400 have resigned, folks. So we've lost 1,500 TSA workers in just the last year. Folks, this training is not overnight. This is a 4 to 6 month training and certification program. There's a lot that goes into national security. I mean, now let's jump ahead. Look at what's coming. In 2026, the United States is hosting the FIFA World Cup. Folks, that is an estimated 6.5 million fans that are coming for these games into the country, all over the world, and going to pass through this country and need secure clearance. How comfortable do you feel about that? 6.5 million. And not to mention that next month in the city of Pittsburgh, which has a current population of approximately 308,000, they're having the NFL draft. Folks, you may not be a football fan, but here's the bottom line. It's going to estimate between 500 to 700,000 people in the city of Pittsburgh for about 3 days. Again, a city of 308,000 population. Okay, we've got Super Bowls every year. And in 2028, folks, the LA Summer Game Olympics. I mean, come on. This is not small. Again, they're not trained overnight. You've already lost 1,500. And again, 4 to 6 months training to catch up those? All right, let's be fair. There are some benefits to being a government employee, as they currently are. Some of those benefits are a pension, which is rare in most places now. Health care, very important, obviously. Paid leave, potentially a good retirement. But folks, there's a big trade-off to having that rubber stamp of I'm a government employee. Pay instability, henceforth today's environment. They have a no-strike policy because, again, they're essential. And I know how that feels. We were in a no-strike policy too in my career. And folks, they are dependent on DC. What do I mean by dependent? Well, they have to have funding or they just simply don't get paid. There's also pressure and expectations when you're in a union. And there again, there are private unions, there are public unions, there's both. You have your own opinions on that. But there are pressure and expectations when you're in a union. You're expected to vote a certain way for politicians. The typical rule of thumb is you support those who support you. I guess that's up to your personal opinion. By support, typically that means PAC funds, political action campaigns, and union dues. And you can bet when this is over, the unions are going to expect back pay for their union dues as soon as they get their back pay for their wages. There again, that your perception and your opinion of unions is your business. We're talking about privatization. Currently, there are approximately 20 airports in the United States that are non-union, both and union, private secured airports. A lot of people don't realize that. It's just an assumption that all airports are, TSA. That's not true. Like I said, there's approximately 20 airports currently that are private security. Now, they're trained to the same TSA standards and clearance. For example, this guy named Nate Carmack, who is a part of the BOS security, he just stated that all their operations are currently running normal because we are paying our employees during the shutdown. Duh! VMD Corporation, another contractor of private security airports, they stated that currently their airports have less than 3 minutes of wait time. So what could it mean about being privatized? It could mean better pay, consistent paychecks, most likely, less politics, maybe. But also, there's the downside. You're losing those great federal benefits, long-term certainty. Folks, it's all negotiable. Just because you go private doesn't mean you're going to lose money. if you go to a contract, you can negotiate whatever you want. But the bottom line is that company will at least be paying you until they get their funding from the government. But if they've got the coffers, which they probably do, you're still going to not miss a paycheck. So there's an argument for this. So let me simplify this. Think about Charlie Brown and Lucy. Charlie Brown runs up, ready to kick the football. And then what happened? Lucy always pulls it away. Every single time. Charlie Brown ends up flat on his back. So who's to blame? Lucy or Charlie Brown for trusting her again and again and again? Now bring that back. Same shutdowns, same promises, same results. In the end, folks, TSA workers are doing what? They keep showing up, for the most part. They keep doing their job, which they're required to do if they show up, and they keep getting caught in the middle. This is not the problem. They are being nothing but political pawns, which should never happen. So I'll leave you with this. What matters more, stability or that federal status? Think about that, folks. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let me know where you stand. And subscribe if you would, please. And until next time, have a great day.